The death of a true love by 1,000 microcuts is more common than the death of a true love by a big cut, a big fatal wound. I'm talking about words, I'm talking about actions. Anyways, let's delve into the 7th and the 8th True Love Guidelines. True Love Guideline number 7 expresses their responsibility in trusting their loved one's capacity to self-direct. The terms of individual growth and the health of a relationship as a whole are largely the results of acknowledging each other's autonomy and working as equal partners rather than a control over the other or a dependence. This can lead to a very fulfilling relationship where the ability to grow as an individual supports one another as a team. When someone expresses trust in their loved one's ability to make their own decisions and navigate their own path, it can be a very empowering thing. This approach can be a powerful motivator for a loved one to develop and grow into the highest potentials of their own persona. However, it's important to note that expressing trust in someone's capacity to self-govern does not mean abdicating responsibility and or neglecting the needs of the relationship as they arise. The health of a relationship as a whole depends on communicating honestly about each other's needs, desires, and working together to find solutions that generate a team spirit, a synergy that is true love. I think from what I've seen in my life so far, that right there is an absolute must. And if that can't be in place to where it has to be fought into place, it has to be forced into place to work like that, then it's some kind of over dependence, and it's some kind of controlling thing rather than a healthy relationship, rather than an equal partnership. And when I say equal partnership, I don't mean they do exactly the same things with the same amounts. No, I'm talking about values. I'm talking about values, beliefs, respects, things that they think is important. If we put it in really, really simple terms, which I think is best, is in each area of life is what's really important to each individual. See, and that's where I do believe it's at. The tricky thing is about relationships, too many times, too many of us, it's like we'll change what we honestly believe or what we honestly feel just to make the other one happy or to avoid conflict. That's why, to me, I think the early months of a relationship or even that first year, that's just the place to try to get what's really under the surface to come to the surface. And then maybe into the second year, that's where the relationship can start to begin. That's just my opinion of it. We all have our own little happy opinions of it. However, I believe to listen more strongly to people who keep data, who have kept records, and has really done a lot of introspection and a lot of research. But that doesn't mean I try not, that doesn't mean I'm not going to try to extend dignity. I will. Because you never know where you're going to learn something. But you know what? When it comes down to it, it's trust. It's trust and levels of trust and amounts of trust and quality of trust in oneself first and foremost. Anyways, that's a whole other topic. Let's take a look into True Love Guideline number 8. Doesn't allow hurt feelings to fester with loved ones. Hurt feelings are inevitable in all relationships, and proper action must be taken to avoid long-term damage. Hurt feelings are a natural part of any relationship from time to time. However, what makes the healthy from unhealthy relationships is how challenges are acknowledged, approached, and processed. Painful emotions left unaddressed can quickly turn into resentment, and then there could be a communication breakdown leading to more misunderstanding that can cause trust issues and may become irreparable. So firstly, figure out what kind of offense it stemmed from. Is it a simple misunderstanding? Is it a fear issue? Is it a boundary issue where lines are not clear? Is it being magnified by an emotional immaturity? However the case may be, it's important to relate with the other person's perspective, to look and to see, to hear and to listen, to understand and comprehend why they feel the way they do, and highlight it with a sincere apology, whether the issue be of your own making or of a situational cause. It can almost be accompanied with an amendment of words and deeds, because where hurt feelings are, a simple apology is rarely effective. Now that right there, it's like being empathizing with others or even sympathizing. It's like it really kind of overlaps right there. It's a real fine line in between enabling and helping them to address and process whatever they're going through or what's happening to them or through them or for them. This is something that's come about for me. This guideline is very important for as a man, as being a recovered alcoholic addict. Those kind of people are characteristics by, what's the word? They're just rude, inconsiderate, unloving. So, to me, this kind of guideline is for someone like me. Doesn't allow hurt feelings to fester with loved ones. And that would seem like it's common sense for average people or normal people. But for people who have had emotional disorders, emotional immaturities, yeah, hurt feelings don't get processed. If anything, they'll get mocked or laughed at even, which is very cold-hearted. But to somebody whose emotions are immature, they'll do those things. And if they wish to change and to start addressing those kind of things, this kind of true love guideline is something that is a must. And I think it's very important to start learning how to acknowledge, approach, and process hurt feelings. And where it kind of seems like there's a fine line in between, it's like, is it part my responsibility or where's their responsibility? They kind of connect. It's like, I don't want to cross that line, because if you cross that line, then that does the exact opposite of helping them process, or I should say, help them to find ways to process, or make it okay to be processed, or make it okay to be acknowledged, and okay to be approached, and okay to be processed. At the end of this True Love Guideline, it says, to understand why they feel the way they do and highlight it with a sincere apology, whether the issue be of your own making, that'd be like me stepping on your toes, or whether it be a situational cause, is whether, it's just something that just happened to them and, their feelings are hurt. Acknowledge it. I mean, life itself really won't apologize for it. But if you care about someone, you're going to kind of help out there, But that's not to say to help them to be in self-pity. That is not to help them to stay at a victim. No, it's the exact opposite. Is to help them, is to acknowledge the hurt feelings, to approach it, acknowledge it, and to process it. And that means to make sure that it does not turn into, the person does not walk away thinking they're a victim or walk away with self-pity. See, if they walk away with being in self-pity or a victim, then that's not good. Not good at all. That's not it. That's not that. It should not be neither one of those two things. If it's one of those two things, then it wasn't. Something wasn't right in the approach. Something wasn't right in the processing. Something wasn't right in the acknowledgement of it. Something was off. So, anyways, dealing with someone who is had emotional immaturities or post-traumatic stress disorders, and you can name it, depression. These kind of people, they're not so easy to deal with. And each person is unique, very unique. So having like a set recipe to where it's like, okay, this is how it is, and this recipe works for everyone. No. God, I wish it was that easy. God, how I wish it was that easy. But it's not. But it can come pretty dang close. We can get some guidelines that gets it in the ballpark and kind of set some little standards here and there, some basic standards of knowing of whether it's working or not. And one way to know whether it's working or not is, did they walk away with an attitude of self-pity or like they were the victim? Because if they walked away, or if it processed out to where they have an attitude, or they feel like they're the victim, or they feel like, or if they're in self-pity, something's off. Something's off. That's all I can say is something's off. So those two things right there. Anyways, those are the two guidelines, True Love's guidelines for this evening, 7 and 8. And we are approaching Christmas. A lot of people celebrate Christmas. We're a few days from that. And we will do the 12th guideline, and we'll do that one only on Christmas Day, the 25th. So we'll do 2 more tomorrow and 2 more the following day. And then on December 25th, Christmas Day, we'll do the 12th True Love Guideline. So until then, those are some things to think about and things to reflect on and to think. It's like, how many relationships or how many heart talks have I had in my life with loved ones or friends or whatever, and they still walk away having like some kind of demeanor or kind of like an attitude of being a victim or some type of self-pity stuff. Because those are huge red flags. Huge red flags in myself or you or anyone else. So those are some things to think about. And why is the timer not going off? Because it is definitely 15 minutes. I forgot to set the timer. At least the time is here on the phone. All right. Have a good one. See you in the funny papers.